Hello, everyone. I know I have way too many links open, but I just want to point out multiple things to you. I'm going to kind of let you put it together. I'm not going to give you my input on any of these topics. I don't know if you saw this that came out where they are going to fight COVID vaccine conspiracies. So, yeah, I will put the link to that article down below. And of course, one of the things that they talk about is how, it will not tamper with your DNA. So just, don't worry your pretty little head, run along and do what you're told. I'm going to go to, I don't know why this is not already open. I'm going to make this real. There you go. What is the COVID vaccine made of? Trends on Google. So let's see what Independent has to say about this. Trends on Google as Pfizer and Moderna seek FDA approval. Google searches for what is the vaccine made of increased 525% over the past 4 days after two successful trials led to hope of imminent distribution. Pfizer and BioNTech said it would seek approval within days from the U.S. Food and Drug Administration after its final analysis found 95% effectiveness in its vaccine with no safety concerns. Moderna, with its 94.5% effective vaccine, is expected to seek the FDA's emergency authorization soon after. So the traffic was led by people in Texas, Florida, New York, and California wanting to know what's in this vaccine. Well, so I guess they gave them links to ingredient lists for the wrong type of vaccine. But that's because two COVID vaccines are the first of their kind. Traditional vaccines contain an active component to generate an immune response, usually fragments of the disease-causing organism in the form of protein, according to the WHO. And keep that in mind because we've been injected already with all of this stuff. They also contain preservatives, I won't even try to pronounce that, and stabilizers like sugar, lactose, and sucrose, amino acids, glycine, gelatin, or proteins, recombinant human albumin derived from yeast. Surfactants used in foods like ice cream keep the ingredients together, while residuals from the manufacturing process like egg proteins, yeast, or antibiotics can be found in trace amounts. They also use dilutants like sterile water and adjuvant to stimulate local immune cells, including aluminum salts like aluminum phosphate, aluminum hydroxide, or potassium aluminum sulfate. The experimental vaccines from Pfizer and Moderna, technically called BNT 162b2 and mRNA 1273, respectively, are created synthetically using messenger ribonucleic acid or mRNA. RNA and DNA are nucleic acids that carry genetic instructions for creating life. Rather than injecting an organic version of the virus to generate an immune response, messenger RNA contains snippets of the coronavirus spike protein's genetic code that tells the body's cells to produce a small facsimile of that spike protein, which kickstarts the immune system to produce antibodies. For the Googlers wanting to know what exactly the COVID vaccine is made of, it becomes a question of chemistry in the creation of that synthetic messenger RNA, which is proprietary information buried in a complex web of patents. Neither Pfizer nor Moderna immediately responded to requests for a breakdown of the chemistry. Paula Cannon, an associate professor of microbiology at the University of Southern California's Keck School of Medicine, told The Independent that vaccine developers have improved on natural RNA, which are short-lived and fragile, to make them more stable and longer lasting. They can be made entirely synthetically. You don't need a biologist on board to make these. You need a chemist, she says. Part of the secret source of these vaccines is that the chemists have found a way to modify RNA and improve on what nature has developed to increase its stability and damp down its foreignness to the body. We don't want the body to freak out about this RNA that's been injected into it because it's not natural. So I digress. There's been some chemical modifications to make the RNA a bit more stealthy. Let me read that again. So there's been some chemical modifications to make the RNA a bit more stealthy. If you've looked at any of the links I've shared of Mel's, where she talked stealth infections. Anyways, while the specificity of those chemical modifications isn't readily available, what is public is that vaccines are encapsulated in lipid nanoparticles, a fatty covering to protect the fragile messenger RNA molecules. Those lipids, also synthetically developed, were referenced in a July study published in a New England Journal of Medicine article analyzing the Moderna phase 1 trial, which said the lipid nanoparticle is comprised of 4 lipids. While not any closer to look inside the sausage factory, the published literature does give further insight into how the messenger RNA and the lipid nanoparticles work together to deliver the vaccine to the body. It's like a carrier and a protective chemical that helps to package up and protect and help with the delivery of the RNA. That's often based on lipids made entirely chemically. So you have one flask that's making the RNA and one flask that's making the lipid, and they kind of get mixed together. The way that chemistry is designed is that the RNA is attracted to the lipid. It forms a complex with it, and that puts the RNA in a Goldilocks spot. For Pfizer's vaccine, it needs to be stored at a temperature of negative 94 degrees Fahrenheit to remain in that Goldilocks zone, while Moderna's vaccine needs to stay at negative 4 degrees Fahrenheit. Researchers have been attempting to trick the body's immune system using messenger RNA for decades, and the COVID vaccines would be the first successful implementation since research began in the 1990s. If approved by the FDA, they would not only make a huge impact on the COVID pandemic, but would open the door to a whole line of vaccines for viruses like herpes, HIV, and the flu. So, what kind of goal does that sound like to you? But they were talking about lipid. Well, the Truth Cures posted this on June 17th of this year, 2020. More than 2 decades after assaulting Czech children with lipidated outer surface protein A vaccines, UConn declares it's the lipids, stupid. After some pretty extensive testing, we found out that they were right. Chemical removal of the lipid portion of the purified Mycoplasma pneumonia lipoproteins eliminated the vaccine-enhanced disease. These and even drove some level of protection from infection. We still have work to do to fully optimize the efficacy of a vaccine formulation, but we have identified and eliminated the cause of the nagging roadblock of vaccine-enhanced disease that plagued the field for over half a century. Safety problems are no longer a concern for the Mycoplasma pneumonia vaccines. So, again, I don't really want to even comment and put my opinion to this. I'm just telling you what has been laid out for us. I'm sharing the links. We have to prepare and refine candidate Mycoplasma pneumonia vaccines that do not contain lipoproteins and test them in our animal model. So you get the point. But this new technology with this messenger RNA, this synthetic, and both of them are synthetic. This on top of multiple infections that we all already have. Lipopolysaccharide induced conversion of recombinant protein. We discovered that the lipopolysaccharide LPS, a component of gram-negative bacteria membranes, interacts with recombinant prion proteins and induces conversion to an isoform richer in amyloid sheet at physiological conditions as long as the LPS concentration remains above the critical micelle concentration. So the monsters simply have no further use for you or your country, stealing the real AIDS treatments, millions. Yep, because we send money to, we send trillions of dollars to other countries, and and then they refuse to allow treatment of things often that would help the suffering. That's why people have to learn to take care of their own health. It's, multiple coexistence of ribbon and helical fibrils originating from the human islet amyloid polypeptide. Uncontrolled misfolding in proteins leads to the formation of amyloid deposits, is associated with more than 40 types of diseases, such as neurodegenerative diseases and type 2 diabetes. So, this is happening already from vaccines that are already on the market. Yet they're rolling out these new ones um, that they're saying is 90% effective on one and 94.5 on another. Yet we have a 99.8% chance, most of us, of surviving the said disease. There is, there is something at play here, and it goes much beyond, the idea that the BBC says it will not alter your DNA, but you have. Let me just see. We have the company itself, AstraZeneca, announces collaborations to use CRISPR technology for genome editing across its drug discovery platform. And then we have Miss Jennifer. Do you DNA? Jennifer does. She uses CRISPR. Uh, I find her name it's really astonishing. But let's listen to just a clip. I'm going to go back just a little bit.
CRISPR proteins. These are proteins that actually inhibit the CRISPR pathways. And these are turning out also to be potentially very useful as technology.
Good thing to know. There are anti-CRISPRs. Side note.
And I'll give you one brief example of that. And then at the end, I want to just say a little bit about what we think about the societal implications of a technology that is so enabling for making targeted changes to the DNA of cells and organisms. It's really a profound thing if you think about it, right? Because it really gives humans now the power to control evolution of organisms in our environment and also potentially our own evolution in a very targeted fashion. So,
yeah, so and if you paid attention to any of my videos, I've done videos about Craig Venter and the synthetic biology. It's all this information is freely out there, and I would. I was just listening to this release the Kraken into the mark of the beast too. I think, of course, in my opinion, this is all to tie it into the beast system. And I think, unfortunately, I know people who are deceived and think the Nacera Jacera is somehow the answer. I've even heard people say it's the year of Jubilee, but I think it's just one more great big deception. And, Trump and Biden both are communitarian, and both are rolling out this agenda. Nothing is, ironically, one of the things Q says is nothing can stop what's coming. And unfortunately, I'm afraid that is true. But all of this information is out there, and it's almost ridiculous at this point, the extent they're going to. But unfortunately, I feel like I'm probably just singing to the choir, and I wonder if it's even if it's futile at this point, because if people haven't woken up. I even question whether people are already taken over. But this final rollout. This is to connect everything, upload us all to the cloud. The Operation Warp Speed is, coming, whether it's Biden or whether it's Trump, and ironically, it seems to me that people don't even realize that the actual selection hasn't happened anyways, because they don't do the electoral count until December 14th, if I'm not mistaken, or they don't even do the vote until then. So, and another ironic thing is all of this is over blockchain, which blockchain is, I think of the chain gang. We're going to be chained to the beast system. But this voting system it's stuff on blockchain, and people think that blockchain bitcoins are this great thing. It's not. But anyways, let me know what you think, if this even manages to stay up. I'm not talking any conspiracies here. I'm just pointing out facts, for information that's freely available to anyone who chooses to look on the internet. All right. Thanks, guys.